What if I told you some tattoos were literally a death sentence? Not metaphorically. Not, oh, your parents will kill you. I mean actual death. Execution. Murder. In a Russian prison, wearing the wrong tattoo could get your skin carved off. In Auschwitz, a number on your arm meant you were marked for death. And in ancient Japan, criminals were tattooed on their forehead so everyone would know they deserved to die. These aren't just stories about ink on skin. These are stories about how tattoos became weapons, punishments, and sometimes the last thing a person ever wore. Let's start with the most infamous tattoos in human history. Auschwitz, 1941. The Nazis needed a way to track prisoners, not by name. Names were too human. They needed numbers, and so began the systematic tattooing of over 400,000 prisoners, each person reduced to digits on their forearm, a permanent mark that said, "You are not a person, you are inventory." Here's what makes this even darker. These tattoos had a specific purpose beyond identification. They prevented escape, because even if you ran, even if you survived, you carried proof of your imprisonment forever. Many survivors kept their numbers as a badge of survival, but for over 1 million people who passed through Auschwitz, that number became their gravestone. They were never registered. They went straight to the gas chambers. And here's a twisted detail. Tattooing was considered a privileged job. Prisoners forced to tattoo others with the very numbers that marked them for death. One famous tattooist, Lala Sokolov, fell in love with a woman he tattooed. Both survived, but most didn't. Now let's go back 1,300 years. Japan, 720 AD. The government had a creative punishment for criminals. Instead of execution, they would tattoo your forehead. Everyone who saw you would know this person broke the law. First offense, a line across your forehead. Second, another line. Third, you were exiled or executed. The tattoo was a visible death sentence in slow motion. By the Edo period, 1603 to 1868, this practice evolved. Different crimes got different marks. A thief might get a tattoo on their arm. A murderer? Their head. But something unexpected happened. Criminals started embracing these marks of shame. They covered the punishment tattoos with elaborate designs. Dragons, koi fish, legendary heroes. The very thing meant to destroy them became their armor. Japanese organized crime, the Yakuza, was born from these outcast tattoos. Today, they're still heavily tattooed as a middle finger to the society that tried to brand them. And the government's response? They banned all tattoos in 1872. That ban lasted over 150 years. Now we enter the brutal world of Russian prisons, where tattoos are a literal language of life and death. In the Soviet Gulag system, every tattoo had meaning. A skull? You've killed someone. A spider on a web? You're a career criminal. Stars on your knees? You'll never kneel to authority. But here's where it gets deadly. If you wore tattoos you didn't earn, you could be killed. And I don't mean eventually. I mean other prisoners would hold you down and carve the fake tattoos off your skin with a knife. There's a famous story about death row prisoners who tattooed portraits of Stalin, Lenin, Marx, and Engels on their chests. Why? Because guards wouldn't shoot at images of their leaders. It was literally a tattoo that could save your life from a firing squad. And the coffin tattoo? That meant murder. But not just any murder. The details told the whole story. A woman kneeling over the coffin meant the murder was over love. A specific number of tombstones showed how many people you'd killed. But not all tattoo deaths came from punishment. Some came from the act itself. Traditional tattooing before modern sterilization was deadly. In Samoa, the traditional pea tattoo covers the body from waist to knees. It takes weeks. The pain is so intense that some men died from shock during the process. In 1805, an explorer in New Zealand documented his first encounter with Maori tattoos. He didn't know that within decades, tattoo-related infections would become a documented health crisis. Even today, tattoos can kill. A study in The Lancet documented cases of sepsis, necrotizing fasciitis, and fatal infections from contaminated ink. One wrong needle, one unsterile environment, and a piece of art becomes a death sentence. So next time you see someone with tattoos, remember this. What is now self-expression was once a death mark. What is now art was once evidence of crime. What is now a billion-dollar industry was once something that could get you killed. Tattoos have survived 5,000 years of human history. They've been used to mark prisoners, identify corpses, punish criminals, and sometimes end lives. But they've also been used to reclaim identity, to say, I am not a number, to turn marks of shame into marks of power. The ink hasn't changed, only the meaning has.